Paralympic flag and will not be included in the medal table. Of course, guys, Tom Parmenter is in Nottingham at the home of GB Paralympian Richard Whitehead, and they both join me now. And Tom, I guess you're going to put the questions to Richard, but how's he feeling?
Well, there is quite a degree of shock across a number of competitors who have taken part in previous Paralympics. The clock was very much ticking for the IPC, who organised the Paralympic Games. They have competition and an opening ceremony that starts this Friday in Beijing. And the decision that they have come to and have just released is, as you say, to allow Russian athletes and Belarusian athletes to compete as neutrals in the Winter Olympics. As you say, Richard Whitehead is with us here in Nottingham. Richard, you represented GB in the Summer Paralympics, London, Rio, Tokyo, and also in the Winter Games in Turin back in 2006. What's your initial take on that decision?
Yeah, really disappointed. As an athlete that's competed at both Summer and Winter Games, I think it's really important to see where sport fits here. And we're talking about a humanitarian disaster that's happening. We want to be representing of the IPC's core values, and they're all about inclusion and equality. And it's not about, for us, sport is important, but life and humanity is more important. We want to represent Paralympic and disability sport, but that's not important now. Life is more important.
As I say, you've competed at a number of games. How would you feel competing against Russian athletes in these circumstances, as will now be happening? There'll be neutrals, but they'll still be at the games in Beijing.
Like my fellow competitors, I know there'll be a lot of athletes that won't want to be putting themselves in a position where they're having to compete against Belarus and Russian athletes because of their own core values around what is important to them and how sport fits. For me, sport is about participation for a disabled person and showing the best form of yourself. But at the moment, humanitarian disasters such as this take precedent for everything else.
The Winter Paralympics in Beijing will have teams from both Russia who will compete as neutrals, but also a team from Ukraine as well, a team of around 20 or so competing on behalf of Ukraine. And what is your take on how awkward perhaps that might be within the closed-loop bubble that they have around these games due to COVID restrictions?
Yeah, for sure, and also the teams that they have around them as well. So there might be 20 athletes from Ukraine, but there'll also be their support team as well. I would worry about the safety of the athletes from the Russian and Ukrainian teams and in the rest of the bubble in Beijing. For me, it's just putting the athletes in an awful situation. And also, we need to really think about what is happening in Ukraine at the moment. And they will have families, friends that are fighting for freedom. And that's what we want to represent within the Paralympic movement. It's about that equality, that level playing field, that platform. But more importantly, that we want to represent our community and we want to stand together for humanity.
Richard, many thanks for talking to us live on Sky News this morning. So quite a degree of shock and disappointment around that decision from the International Paralympic Committee, and we will be hearing more from them in a news conference in Beijing in the next hour or so, Jane.
OK, Tom, thanks very much, and thanks to Richard.